All right. Well, thank you for attending our TSG webinar of the month in May. We're titling this one, Is Your Website Up to Modern Day Standards? Today, normally we have this just for our digital directive members. It's usually just exclusive to that, but with COVID-19, we wanted to provide as many resources as possible to everyone. So we've opened it up. Now our goal is to offer you continual value and best-in-class knowledge and expertise across the entire spectrum of digital marketing and advertising. So we'll keep these webinars open for now, with each one featuring a different topic and subject matter experts. Our experts today, Leshea and Erin. So if you're a member of the Digital Directive, then a key value for you is the ability to rewatch this webinar at your convenience and the ability to get your own personalized questions answered to help you achieve your business goals. If you have no idea what the Digital Directive is, don't worry about it. I'll explain it at the end. But today we have Erin, who is a brand strategist with us, and Leshea, who is a media strategist at TSG, talking about the essentials you need to get your website up to modern day standards. So we're excited to kick this off, and we'll turn it over to Erin and Leshea.
Awesome. So, hi again, my name is Leshea. I am a media strategist here at TSG, and today we are going to be walking you through the 4 different phases that we at TSG usually take on when we perform a website audit. So for the first phase is streamline. Streamlining is all about identifying where you are, where you want to go, and how that is reflected in your website. So this phase essentially is all about taking a step back to really evaluate your website and ask yourself, is it helping you meet your overarching business goals? And then we move on to phase 2, which is about user experience. And in this phase, we are trying to optimize user experience by implementing best website practices. And this phase is all about putting yourself in the user's shoes and identifying opportunities to improve their experience. Maybe that's through including landing pages, reducing user friction. These are all different elements that we are going to be covering in today's webinar.
Awesome. And then we're going to move into phase 3, which is about branding. And that's going to be about bridging the gap between the in-store experience and your digital voice. So what that means is, can somebody who's following you or coming across your brand, can they bridge the gap between what they see online and what they experience in your store? Do your fonts and colors match on your website? You know, like bringing all of that into your website is very important. And then phase 4 is all about photography and capturing that in-store content to put your human fingerprint, so to speak, on your website. So those are the 4 phases that we are going to be covering today.
Great. So phase 1, streamline. Like I said, this is about identifying where you are and where you want to go. Your website is essentially an extension of your brand. So think about whether it is helping you meet your business's goals and how that is being reflected in your site. Here at TSG, we like to break it down to 3 different steps to go about doing this. So the general theme here is reorganizing your website and streamlining information that's currently there. The first step is to restructure your sitemap. Navigation is arguably the most important element on your site and is key in guiding users through their experience on your website. It's also the first thing they notice, so having a strong sitemap is very important. So when we do this, we want you to survey the links in your navigation menu and see if they're helping you meet your current overarching business goals. For example, if bridal sales are a huge priority for your business, having the engagement ring tab should be it should be the first tab on your navigation menu so that people notice it immediately. And the general rule of thumb when it comes to the number of tabs that you have on your navigation menu is to keep it as minimal as possible. There's this psychological theory called decision fatigue, and it revolves around the concept where you present a user with a ton of options, and normally you think that's a good thing. If they have a ton of options, they can make a decision more easily, but actually it's the exact opposite, because the only thing that you're doing by providing them with a ton of options is just overwhelming them. And this is something that applies to websites as well. You want to make sure that you are providing them with the information they need and making the process to navigate your site as simple as possible. And you do not want to overwhelm them, or worse, scare them away and have them end up leaving the site and going to your competitor instead to find the exact same service. We do not want that. We want to avoid that as much as possible.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And the second step is to streamline your information. Again, it's really important to remember here that less is more when it comes to information. While it may be tempting to provide your customers with as much information as possible, you have to remember that this information has to be digestible and concise. A great way to start finding areas to streamline is by combing through all the pages on your website and keeping an eye out for any pages that might have overlapping messaging, and see if you can find ways to condense all that information in a manner that is still digestible and still provides the user with a ton of value. The goal here is to simplify as much information as you can. And once again, it's all about finding the sweet spot between giving customers the information that they need and completely scaring them away. I'm seeing comments here that they can see the screen.
Can you all see the presentation? Maybe put a 1 if you can see it. Okay, Sarah sees it. 1, 1, 1. Okay.
Okay.
I think we're okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Cool. Great. And last but not least, you want to check that all your buttons and redirect links on your website are working, and ensure that they are not broken and leading to the right pages. So this means going into the website, clicking on every single button, every single page, every single link that you can possibly find. And yes, it is a very tedious process. It is not fun, but just taking the time out to do that can greatly improve the overall user experience. And as frequent website users ourselves, I think we can all agree that it can be extremely frustrating when you click on a page and you end up on a page with no information at all and just a generic error message. So the same thing applies to your website. You want to make sure that your customers don't run into that.
Absolutely.
And yes, Melissa, we agree. Webinars are the hottest place to be these days. Thank you for joining us. And over here on the screen is an example of a sitemap. So over here on the first tab, we have engagement jewelry. The second would be jewelry, services, or store blogs. So this is just an example. Again, feel free to tailor this to the needs of your business. And when you go in and create a sitemap, think of all the different pages that you want to have that live under those categories. So pick out the categories that you want to focus on, look at the pages on your website, and find ways to fit them all in a very concise and clear manner. So the second phase is user experience. And like I said, this phase is all about placing yourself in the user's shoes and evaluating the experience that they are getting on your site. Is it a smooth experience? Is it visually appealing? During this section, we'll be talking you through the different things you can be doing with your website to enhance the overall user experience. One way that we go about doing this is by creating landing pages. Landing pages truly are the heart and soul of lead generation marketing. They serve as a dedicated standalone page that you can direct traffic to from both ads and your organic social media. And here at TSG, we love our landing pages, whether it's through organic social or implementing them in a campaign. Almost every single one of our ad campaigns will have some sort of a landing page, because we found that it's been the most effective in having users stay on your website and retaining that. Because when you think of landing pages, they serve as a way to guide the user into taking the next critical step, whether that's making a purchase, setting up an appointment, or even just further exploring your website. So from an analytics side, landing pages are a great way to increase your average number of pages per session, the average session duration, because you're essentially guiding users through the journey of navigating your website as you normally would with a customer in store. So that's another way to think of landing pages. And there are a couple of elements that we want to make sure we include when we create landing pages. First, Your landing page should be clear and concise. Again, I sound so repetitive right now. But it's really all about providing the customer information that's important to them and not to a point where it overwhelms them. So, for example, if you wanted to create a landing page for all your engagement rings and for the bridal experience in your store, you would first want to start off with a header image that shows engagement rings, and maybe include like a short blurb about why your store is the place to get an engagement ring and what makes you unique and stand out compared to your competitors. Secondly, you want to make sure that your landing pages have clear call to actions. You want to make sure that the user is given the option to take next steps. So going back to the same example that we used earlier, there are different prompts that you can utilize here, such as shop all our engagement rings, schedule an appointment, find out more about our financing options. Just providing the users with the different options that they can take, but again, not overwhelming them. And in line with this, you want to make sure that the user can take their next desired action. Maybe that's including a section for them to shop ready-made engagement rings, custom designer ring, or a link that they can click on to find out more about any other essential information that they may need. So again, these are just examples. You know your customer best. You know what they search for when they come to your store, what information is valuable to them. Yeah. So make sure that when you create your landing page, you're keeping that in mind and implementing all those areas.
Absolutely.
And just have Erin go more.
Yeah. A couple of things to add to that would be making sure that your photography and your videos match your brand when it comes to your landing pages. So whether that's a video of a staff member talking about some engagement rings that you just have released in your store, putting that on your landing page. Also branding that video. If you have some people on your staff that can do a little bit of editing, adding your logo to the beginning or end of it, making sure that your fonts and your colors match your brand as well, which we'll get into a little bit further later. But on your landing page, just making sure your brand identity is cohesive throughout all your platforms, but especially your website and your landing pages. So yeah. And then go ahead, Leshea, actually on this one.
Okay. And the third step is reducing friction in the customer journey. So when we talk about friction in a web context, it refers to anything that could potentially stand in the way of the user accomplishing their goals on the website. So that could be maybe your site is loading too slow, your pictures are pixelated, but the one that we want to focus on right now is think of the number of steps a user has to make to take an action on your website, whether that's scheduling an appointment, filling up a form, making a purchase. Think of the number of steps that they have to take. Can you eliminate any? So a best practice here is to list down all the steps and think of whether there are any steps in there that might not be necessary and might just be hindering the overall process. For example, if you have a page about your jewelry buying services and you want people to schedule an appointment, usually you'd have the person land on the page that provides some more information about the service and have them click on a button to open a different page to fill up a form. A simple way to go about doing that is by integrating the form on the page itself so that the user doesn't have to load another web page. And this is just a really simple example of different ways you can be simplifying the steps on your website. So go through all the different goals that you want your users to achieve and list down all the steps, eliminate any, and I promise you that this is going to greatly improve your user experience.
Awesome. Thank you, Leshea. So moving on to phase number 3, when it comes to branding your website, once your website is optimized, you're going to really want to make sure, like I mentioned before, that your brand identity is cohesive on your website, because that's the home base of where your audience is finding you. So that means your colors, that means your fonts, that means your brand voice and how you say something, how you phrase things, maybe different coined phrases that you use for certain things. Have you implemented that on your website? Or are you just putting them in your captions on Instagram and Facebook and hoping that the users that find you on social are going to understand the user experience online? So a couple things to keep in mind when it comes to the goals that you want to have when branding your website is to create brand guidelines for yourself. Maybe you don't have that. Maybe you just kind of been shooting in the dark, but really take some time. There's definitely courses out there, and TSG also offers that if you need help with that. But this is where it's a very specific, almost like manual guideline of the fonts, the colors, what you do, what you say, what you don't say, the words you choose, the words you don't choose, like keeping that brand identity is very important. So following those brand guidelines on your website is something you want to do. Also incorporating your store's personality into your branding. Once again, maybe there's coined phrases that you use or certain even emojis that you use when you're communicating on social. Maybe there's a certain playfulness to how you like to communicate to your audience, or maybe you like to keep it clear, polished, and concise. How are you implementing that on your website? So incorporating that personality is very essential to having a great website. And then also when it comes to updating your website, let's say maybe you go through a rebranding process, keeping that new look on your website is important because as you're refreshing yourself in other spaces, it again has to match back to your website, because you have to bridge the gap between the digital social experience and your website and make it easy to find things, as Leshea walked us through. So when we talk about bridging the gap, again, bridging the gap between your in-store experience and your online presence, the way that we do that, once again, is reducing the friction between the customer's desire to buy and the buying action. When Leshea and I were going through the notes for this webinar, I was kind of joking around, but it's so true. Sometimes you create your website and you have all these images and photography and you're like, oh my gosh, my website is so beautiful. But then when it comes to what it looks like on the phone, you have all these great graphics on your desktop, but also keeping in mind that on the phone, a lot of that stuff shrinks. So maybe it seems clear that on the desktop computer on your website, it's easy to go ahead and book an appointment because that's one of your biggest overarching business goals. But then on the phone, I have to scroll 6 times to find the button to book an appointment. And that's all because your photography was all over the place, or you had too many videos, and the way that it came about on the phone, which I would highly recommend that you pay attention to what it looks like on the phone and the desktop computer and make sure those are cohesive. So that's something that's really important that some people forget about. And there's the highest percentage, the exact number slips my mind right now, but most people are finding you and shopping on the phone. So that would be the number one place you want to see how your website is appearing, is on the phone. And then also when it comes to creating collections on your website. So for example, maybe you're doing a theme on social for Mother's Day, and you have a curated collection for Mother's Day or Father's Day or whatever it is. Is it easy for people to find that same collection on your website? How are you bridging the gap between what's online on Instagram or Facebook and what's actually shoppable on your website? Creating those collections such as gifts for her, or favorites under $1,000, or best anniversary gifts. That's also an important thing to use, whatever it is. And maybe you're not a collection type of brand, but whatever your niche personality as your brand is online, make sure you're bridging that gap to your online presence. And then phase 4 is going to be about photography. Now, this is something that's near and dear to my heart, I guess you would say, because when it comes to the jewelry industry, when you think about it, the difference between your brand and someone else's brand is you and your story and your staff and your faces and the personalities that are in your store. And the more that you can expose your customers and your users to you as humans, as people, in your photography, in your video, they're going to remember you. The more of that you can keep on your digital presence, great, but can you bring that over to your website as well, so that they can say, oh my gosh, I know Ashley, I saw her video on Instagram, or I saw it on Facebook, or there was an ad on Pinterest, or whatever it was. And then they go to your website maybe 10 days later because they were thinking of jewelry. They're like, oh yeah, this is that Ashley girl who did that one thing. Like tying that together is so important. So the goal here would be to capture in-store content that speaks to your in-store experience and brand. Now, a couple of ways that we can do that when it comes to imagery is adding that personal touch. The final phase would be bringing your in-store experience online by capturing the imagery, but focusing on capturing content that supports your pages and the tabs that Leshea was talking about. So on the About Us page, what type of imagery are you going to want to use? Obviously team things, but maybe it makes sense for you to keep people and team on the home page too, to keep that personality there. The custom design and jewelry, what type of photography are you using there? Are you taking pictures of the sketches that your designers create? Are you including that on your website? And maybe that kind of bridges the gap between your digital and your online experience. Digital meaning social, and then your actual website. And then the customer's experience, showing photos and photography and imagery that show what it's like to be in store. One thing we find amongst many clients is that it's hard for users, especially when they're encountering your brand for the first time. They don't know what it feels like to come into your store. I know what your jewelry looks like, and I know what some of your staff members' faces look like, but what does the space feel like? You know, I would even encourage you to have more video on your website and your social about what that experience is. What does it feel like to come in the door, especially as some of you are starting to reopen? What does it feel like to have your jewelry cleaned? What does it feel like to talk to somebody at the counter or at the show box or whatever it is? Keeping all of those user experiences in mind and making sure that there's a clear bridge from your social digital to your online website. Now, we want to do some audits, some live audits. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open up a web browser. And if you can, in the comments, just go ahead and, if you feel comfortable, put your website URL, and me and Leshea are going to do some live audits. All right, let's see here. Chat. Let me open up the chat.
Oh,
okay.
Got a live one.
Here we go. Here we go. Let me copy that over.
All right. Thank you, Kendra.
Yeah, thanks for participating.
Oh, wow. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
whoa. Coming in like hotcakes.
Coming in like hotcakes.
All right, I'm going to share my screen now. We've got the website up. Share. Okay. All right, Leshea. So let's take a minute here and look at this. We've got American Gym Society here. Again, I realize that we are also looking at this on the desktop computer, but make sure that you implement some of these things we might suggest on your phone, on the view on the phone. Okay. All right, Leshea, what are you thinking thus far? Oh, Leshea, I'm sorry, you're muted.
I was muted. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Just looking at it, I think it's great that, you know, there's a very clear value proposition for your store and all the different services that you offer, from custom jewelry and everything else. And like I said, you know, I see short blurbs of information about those services, and it's not too overwhelming. The one thing I will point out is that on the navigation menu itself, so I'm seeing a tab for our team and also an About and Contact tab. So my suggestion would be to maybe think of a way you could condense all of it into one tab. So maybe just a About Us tab with the Our Team and Contact Us pages living underneath that. And this is just a suggestion, but it's also, you know, like we mentioned, a really great way to minimize the number of tabs in your navigation menu.
Absolutely. I think that there's definitely, from the brand side of things, it seems cohesive as far as the colors and things like that. I would just say maybe adding in a bit more personality from your team with some of these things. Maybe even here, if instead of just one, if you're able to add a banner that rotates between different things to showcase the different value propositions, but also to show your team and the faces and the personality, to add that in there is a great suggestion. I think it's great here that you make it easy to book an appointment and obviously to visit you, which is great. And then coming down here to jewelry services, learn more. Yeah, so I would just say really hone down on what are you trying to get people to do when they come to your website, and is that reflected here? Not 100% sure what those business goals are, but overarching, it just, for me on the brand side, it's just missing more personality here. All right, let's get the next one here.
Number 2. Thanks, Kendra.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Can you actually just tell me the URL? Because I can't seem to see the chat anymore now that I'm sharing my screen.
Sure. Paramount Gems, PARAMOUNT, gems.com.
Okay. Website number 2.
I love the participation here.
I know. So good.
Our links.
All right. Basic collection, loose diamonds. Got your collections there, okay. And then these are the tabs.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking initially, Leshea?
First things first, I love the simplicity of this. I love that you have the images of the diamonds and the rings, and you have the text overlays to signify what they are for.
Mm-hmm.
The one suggestion I would make is, maybe include like a short paragraph about your store and why people should visit you and what makes your store unique.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe talk about your history, maybe talk about the, any unique value propositions.
Mm-hmm.
You can include them right below the banner. And, overall, this is a great homepage, but I think just that addition will really push it the extra mile. What do you think, Erin?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the simplicity is fantastic. I would imagine that on the phone, this is very easy to navigate. You go to it, you know exactly what there's very few options, almost like that decision anxiety you were talking about earlier, where it's like, it's not too many things to choose from, which is great. I think that this one as well lacks some personality as far as who these people are, like what is Paramount Gems, that part I think is missing on the homepage. So I think the tips that you gave, Leshea, is spot on of how I would go about just on this homepage recommending for this person. So this brand. Thank you guys.
All right. Next one.
Yeah, let's do one more.
Let's do KIZERCUMMINGS.
S.com.
Yeah.
Thank you, Caroline. Could
Yeah.
not do this without you. Okay. Kizzer Cummings Jewelers. I like the rotating banner here.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what's new. That's cool. And especially if they're finding that on social,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be really easy for their users to find. And then obviously the social feed there. I think that's great. Like as far as the layout initially, that's anybody that's finding you or discovering you online is going to, if they click on your website for the first time, they're probably going to find what they came to look for. What do you think, Leshea?
I agree, and kind of the same suggestion as before. First, I love that we have the rotating banner, and you have the sign that's saying we are open 24/7 online, and like for everything that's going on, that's so important, and it's great that you're highlighting that. But again, maybe just including like a short quote or a testimonial from a customer about your business and why people should be visiting you.
Yeah.
It could even just be as simple as just a single sentence with your store's motto or vision just on the website, just to really bring some personality as well to the website. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I would also say too, paying attention a bit more to the fonts that you're using. I think in these rotating banners, there's maybe, it looks like they're kind of the same, but a little bit different. So just polishing that up a little bit more. And then this seems to be obviously something that's really important to this brand. So I would say if custom design is this important to put at the first button, adding a little bit more imagery around that, or maybe making this visually a bit more appealing in some way. I know we have the rotating banner, but that's just initially what I'm thinking. I'm just trying to like guess what are the most important things to this brand, and this is what it appears to be. So adding some visual elements, but then just making sure that your brand overall is cohesive here. Because even like the fonts on this, do they match with what's actually on the website, the fonts that you're using on the images, if you know what I mean there. So yeah, thank you guys so much for participating, and that was fantastic.
Awesome.
All right, let me give you your slides back, Caroline.
Take me back. All right. So let's do some Q&A. So we just did live audits, but we also want to answer any questions that you have. So there's that Q&A box at the bottom down there, if you can see that. So if there's any questions that you have for Leshea and Erin, put them in there and we'll rattle those off in the remaining time that we have. Let's take this, give you guys a minute to put any in there that you have.
Don't be shy.
Ooh, got one. Got a live one. All right. Does the website and social media need to complement each other? Or can social media be more fun with posts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say it can be more fun. So if you think about it on social media, you can do a lot more with stories, with the stickers and the GIFs and all of that. And it could be a lot more spontaneous, a lot more personality. But you have to kind of go back to your brand guidelines overarching and overall figure out what phrases, key things that you're expressing in your captions, and does that match back to your website? So maybe your website is a little bit more tightened up. Maybe instead of open collared, it's buttoned up all the way, but then, or with a tie, and then on social, you kind of are more relaxed in that way. Like there's ways you can do it. So I wouldn't say it's wrong to be more free or have more personality on social and then be more tightened up on your website. You just have to really go back to your brand guidelines and see how you can do that. Because I think that there are opportunities that social media provides that allows you to really connect with people as humans. And that's what attracts them to your brand and then gives them back to your website so that they can follow through with the purchase.
Right. Susan put in the chat, is putting your social media feed important?
I can take this. Yes, we recommend putting your social feed on your website, not just links, or even if you want to include a section that showcases your Instagram feed at the bottom of your website, because you work so hard on your organic social presence and you want to make sure that that's translated into your website as well. You want people to be able to see that. And it's also a great way to increase awareness about your Instagram page. So if, let's say, new users land on your page who have previously never heard of you before, showing the different pictures that you have on your Instagram feed can entice them to follow you. So it's a great way to grow followers and also just really, bring in that organic presence as well. And kind of going back to the first question as well about how on Instagram you can afford to be a little bit more casual and a little bit more fun. Mm-hmm. Why not showcase on your website as well by linking it? It's, overall, we do recommend doing that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Becky Combs asks, how important is an online catalog on your website?
You want to take it, Leshea, or do you want me to?
I can take this.
Okay.
So catalogs are definitely something that we highly encourage with all our clients, especially those who are looking to delve into e-commerce, which is getting increasingly popular with everything that's going on right now. Mm-hmm. So setting up a catalog, for those of you who don't know, a catalog, essentially, it contains all the information on every single product that lives on your website. And this is done through Facebook Business Manager. On Facebook, once you upload this catalog, you can start running ads with them. And the great thing about these ads is that we call them dynamic ads. So if you've ever been scrolling through your Facebook feed and you come across a grid style ad that showcases a bunch of different products all in one collection, those are called collection ads. They are highly effective, highly visual, very good at making you make that purchase. And having a catalog gives you the ability to do that. So if that's something that you're looking into, I would definitely recommend setting up a Facebook catalog.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Sarah Ritchie said, can I do this all on my own? I use GoDaddy. Is there an easier or less expensive? I'm a sole appraiser. I am not doing social. It seems to take too much time.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to start off with that one, Leshea?
Yeah. So with an audit, what we recommend doing is sitting down and listing out all the different changes that you want to be making to your website, and maybe reaching out to your website platform host if these changes are able to be implemented. We understand that, with website audits especially, and updating your website, it is a very long process. It's not something that's just done overnight.
Yeah.
So if, time and cost is a concern for you, what you can do is, break it down to phases, just like we did. The first thing you can do is just figure out how to rearrange the tabs in your navigation menu, streamlining information, and then handing it off to your website host to see if they can make those changes for you, or if you can do it yourself. So really just taking all those baby steps and essentially, building it up over time.
Yeah.
That answers the question.
And I would add to that too, when it comes to the social aspect, one thing to keep in mind, I wouldn't decide for yourself, I'm never going to be on social ever, but maybe over the next year, I'm just going to add Instagram, or I'm just going to add Facebook, or adding one thing, because what I don't want to belittle is how customers and consumers of content, or just people in general, will check your social feeds as a determining factor of their purchase from you. And that goes for jewelry and many other retails across the nation. Really the world is that people are checking your social to see if they should buy from you. So if you don't have the time to be posting 3 to 5 times a week or whatever it is, you can still create a content strategy where you're posting once a week or once a month even to start. I wouldn't belittle social just because you can't do it a whole lot. I would still even recommend highly that you just do it once a month, even if you have to start there, because it is so important in today's world.
And someone asked Leshea if you can jump back to the catalog and explain actually what that is.
Yeah, sure. So think of a catalog as sort of the main hub for all the inventory that lives in your page. So when in Facebook catalog, what you essentially have is a huge list of every single product that is on your website, with its unique identifier numbers, with its description, its name, its price, everything that you will essentially see on the website. But the benefit of having that in the catalog is that when you run ads, all this information is automatically pulled over. So in the ad, you can see when the person clicks on the product itself, they can see the description, the name, the price, without ever having to leave the Facebook app. So collection ads also give you the ability for the person to make a purchase right then and there itself without having to go to your website. So if, growing your ad presence on Facebook is something that you want to do, I would definitely look into that.
Awesome. And what is the easiest way or more practical way to creating a landing page? Is there a particular service that we recommend?
Erin, do you want to answer this?
Well, I think it depends on what website platform you're using. So one that we use often that we recommend the clients is Squarespace, because it's really easy to go in on the back end and just create a new page and set it up as a landing page and add all the different elements that we went over today. But if you are, I know that there's a couple other platforms though that are set out just for landing pages. Am I right with that, Leshea, or no?
Yes, but like Erin said, primarily with our clients, we just typically go into the platform that the website is on and we create it there itself. But yes, there are services that provide that.
And the reason why that's really good is because you want to keep them on your platform. So there are other third-party apps or platforms that allow you to create landing pages in and of itself on its own, but that kind of defeats the purpose of getting them back on your home base, because then you want them to click around to other things if they like what's on that landing page.
All right. Someone is asking, they're saying, Erin, do you know if Wix specifically creates landing pages?
I want to say yes, because I've used Wix before. I haven't in a while, but I know that you can add pages. Meaning, what I mean by that is you can add pages that are hidden, meaning they're not in your navigation, but they are on your website. So then you can point to them, whether it's through ads or through social. Maybe you're running a special and it's click the link in my bio for the Father's Day special, which is on a Father's Day specific landing page. So that is possible there as well. So you just have to kind of play with it on Wix to see how you can hide that page you create off your navigation menu, if that makes sense.
Awesome. All right, last one. Which social media platform do you think is most important for a local store if you could choose just one?
If I could choose just one, man, it depends on your demographic, but I'm going to say Instagram. I would choose Instagram. And especially when you say that word local. So one thing that I would recommend, free tip here, is when you are in a local community, Instagram has a search feature that allows you to search the most recent posts that have been posted in your local city. When you choose to interact with those posts and engage with them, you are actually finding people that are in your city right now posting on Instagram. When you like and comment on their posts, they're going to check out who you are, because one thing I've found in all the clients we've worked with and a lot of the research that I've done is that people who post recently, they don't have a lot of engagement on their posts. So they are paying attention to who's interacting with them. So that's a feature that Instagram has that Facebook doesn't necessarily have. So that's why I would recommend that, because of the way you, specifically because of the way you phrase that question.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's go to next steps then, because I know that we
Cool.
didn't get to audit everyone's website. We would have loved to just hang here all day and do that, but unfortunately we were not able to. So we have options for you though. Now we've just provided as much information as we could in this webinar, but there's so much more that goes into examining websites, as each one is unique to your brand. So if you were looking for a custom audit of your site along with recommendations on how to improve your site to drive sales, we have a solution for you. And I just want to point out that we did a very basic audit of sites live just right now. It was very quick, like a couple minutes, 2 minutes max. But when we do these specific audits, we take hours and hours really pouring in and going through each and every page to make those recommendations. So recently we actually launched our TSG Marketplace, which allows you to purchase our services as a one-off product. And audits are included in our monthly services. So if you're a client with us, then you get that as part of your package. But if you're looking for a one-time solution, then this product is the perfect solution for you. Our team performs a deep dive analysis, giving you exactly what you need, and we provide that in a deck for you. And then we actually jump on a call and walk it through, answering any other questions that you have. So if you're interested in doing this, you can head to our website, thesmitheegroup.com, and you can email me directly at caroline@thesmitheegroup.com. But you can purchase that today. We can get a kickoff call started as early as next week. But like I mentioned in the beginning, Erin, if you want to go to the next slide, normally these webinars are offered strictly to our Digital Directive members. So I just want to explain a little bit of what the Digital Directive is. And it's our online educational platform that teaches you the ins and outs of digital marketing. So from how to build ad campaigns, what to post organically, how to take the right kind of videos, and tons more. The unique thing is that we're constantly adding new videos and courses. So as the industry changes and new things become available and new social media platforms become available, we're able to move with that. So you also get access to all of our past webinars. You get access to our team for asking questions that we personally answer for you. So it's your personalized questions. And we have a ton of other resources. And this is a year subscription, but it's only $300 a month. And so it's $300 a month that completely trains you on digital marketing. So if you're ready to take that next step, you can head to thesmitheegroup.com or to thedigitaldirective.com. And again, if you have further questions, you can email me directly, caroline@thesmitheegroup.com, or you can follow us on our social. But thank you so much for joining today, and be on the lookout for our next webinar next month. See you later.